Those of you following this closely, by a show of hands, please put a 1 in the chat if you recall this trial. This is where he stood up before the court and said to the judge, please, judge, give me a fair trial. I did not murder my daughter. It was outrageous to hear him say that. Let me know if you remember that by putting a 1 in the chat. If you don't, put a 2. But yeah, this is him right there, that powder blue shirt. And then he vanished. He never showed his face again in court. He called out sick when he was ready to be bussed over. A judge in the case said, oh, well, we'll give him till tomorrow. Maybe, we'll see if he shows up. I was outraged by that. She was so light on him. I'd have been like, drag this mother effer out of his cell and get him into court. Yep. Put him before me. I don't give a F. Yep. I don't give a rat's ass what this piece of shit is claiming. And he better be here tomorrow. I'll find him in contempt and he'll get more charges at the end. It didn't happen, and we all just grinned and bared it.
A year before the murder trial, Montgomery was convicted in a weapons trial. He was sentenced to at least 32.5 years in prison on charges including being an armed career criminal. During the sentencing hearing in this case, Montgomery insisted he did not kill his daughter, Harmony. Montgomery is serving the sentences on those weapons convictions before the sentences from that case in 2024.
Montgomery's defense attorney just released a statement to News 9, and we are quoting here, the court's decision addresses important aspects of a fair trial. Justice is only served when we provide a person accused of a crime a fair and just trial. A trial that is not conducted with those principles in mind does not do justice to persons accused of a crime or people who are victims of crimes.
So there you have it. Joe, again, this case has haunted most of the true crime world because it involved this young, innocent child who didn't know what was happening to her. And he just reached around, by his wife's own admission, around the backseat of the car and bludgeoned this poor little girl to death, and then just proceeded to drive around with her dead body in the trunk of the car. Adam Montgomery, I believe he's 34, 35 at this time. So he's relatively young, but that 32 years alone is going to bring him into his 60s. And I feel strongly that based on the evidence that we saw in trial number 1, it's not going to change. It's going to be relatively the same. They may present it in a different way, but based on the evidence, he's not going anywhere.
And somebody made a very good point on that, saying if your client, if he's claiming self-defense, he needs to explain why it was self-defense. Right. To a jury. That's what they hope to get out of an appeal with this. But the thing is, he agreed not to. They signed papers on that. No, I'm not going to testify. So that's going to come into play with that. In this case here, I think it's just a preponderance of evidence that's going to, tip the scales right where they should be. There is no death penalty up there. So it's going to be the same sentence for him.
The Attorney General, this just came over the wire, Attorney General John Formella, I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right, but the Attorney General from state of New Hampshire is just confirmed that the Attorney General's office will in fact retry Adam Montgomery for the murder. Beautiful. So that's one piece of good news here today with this shocking revelation early this morning. We were all like, what in the actual F is going on here? I believe this ruling, as you just alluded to, is fair and just, because it's an arguable point that a Supreme Court listened to the argument and said, yeah, we're in agreement. He should have been tried separately.
The prosecution argued that the assault evidence was relevant to show the defendant's extreme indifference to Harmony's life. The defense, on the other hand, argued that, look, combining the two cases in a single trial jeopardized his right to a fair trial because jurors would likely conclude that, hey, if he abused her before, he therefore probably killed her later.
So, Judge, okay, this reversal is due to a procedural flaw. And now what happens?
Well, that's an excellent question. It was not reversed on sufficiency of the evidence grounds. What that means, if it had been reversed on sufficiency grounds, double jeopardy would likely bar a retrial. However, as you pointed out, this was not reversed on sufficiency grounds.
How important is that for our true crime enthusiasts to understand that? This is a former judge here. He's a retired judge. He basically said if it was evidentiary, if there was something wrong with the evidence that was presented, you can't retry him under double jeopardy. But because it's not that, it's a procedural it's the court's fault, double jeopardy doesn't apply. So that's a great thing. So for those of you who are listening to other people talk about this, and if they don't highlight this part, they're doing this an injustice, and they're, spreading misinformation. But this former judge said it so well here. The double jeopardy doesn't come into play. He's going to be tried.
And in my view, although I have the decision, it's right here, it doesn't explicitly say it. I interpret this decision as remanding it to the trial court for additional proceedings, meaning he can be tried again.
All right. So Harmony's body never found. Did this play any factor in this?
It actually, Ben, I think played a huge factor, because the evidence of the second-degree assault was extremely strong, where the evidence on the murder, which was, as you point out, a no-body circumstantial only case, was extremely weak. So the odds that the jurors did fill in the gaps using the assault evidence to supply perhaps missing gaps in the murder evidence was high. And the New Hampshire Supreme Court agreed that the risk of prejudice was so high that.
And again, people are saying in the chat, this case haunted, I would say this case haunted 99.999% of the people who watched it. If you were the part of that one little, small percentage of people that it didn't haunt you, then you aren't human.
They're going to want everybody to be, out there and be outraged the way you're seeing it in the comments right here on your show. But think about this. There is a chance, and I think only the experts can go to this as far as lawyers and judges, like you just heard. If he's saying, if she testified and said that he bludgeoned her to death and that's it, he can say he had a lapse over there for a minute or whatever it was. They're going to try to get him off on a lesser charge. And if they accomplish that, then that's going to be something for them as well. It still doesn't, for him to get up there and say, I don't want to be, I didn't kill my daughter. I didn't kill my daughter. Then the wife's testimony is going to be the key in this. Yes,
Right.
she did.
Yeah.
What he did with the body, I don't know, but yes, he did. So that's going to be key in this. And if they get her to recant on anything and put any kind of doubt, that's going to be a problem.
There's a lot of video of them carting what's alleged to be Harmony Montgomery's remains around in like in a stroller. She was transferred from a black plastic bag into a cooler. And I hate that I even have to rehash or go over this again, but I just want the audience to realize, and some people who might stumble across this man was an evil demon. This man was a monster, is a monster. He's a menace to society. He should not see the light of day for the rest of his natural born life. He should die and rot from the inside out inside his cell, as far as I'm concerned, for what he did to his own flesh and blood. And I'm sorry if I'm being a little shrewd here and a little bit straightforward with you, but there's no way to sugarcoat this. This guy is a scumbag, and he deserves everything that he gets. And I hope that bugs are crawling on over him every night and that he is having a miserable time in prison, because this guy is a demon, big time.